Hi Leo, here's a general look at your solar chart for April 2014, and this month we have quite a full house astrologically speaking. There's some very powerful influences coming in over April, largely in the form of the Grand Cross. This is a configuration in our skies in the cardinal signs where we have a planet on each point of a cross shape, which makes a great big square, and it's a very hard working figure full of tension and perhaps not a little bit of conflict as well. And into the mix we've got some Mercury lining up with Uranus on one of the points of the cross, and also we do have the Sun lining up as well with Jupiter, Uranus and Pluto very fleetingly at the beginning of the month, and there's another lunar eclipse tucked away in there somewhere. And then also we've got major solar eclipse on the 29th in Taurus, so that could be quite significant for you because it's in another of the fixed signs and you are a fixed sign. The cardinal Grand Cross that we have in the skies is going to be influencing most strongly those with the Sun in a cardinal sign, or the Moon, or indeed with any planets, but here we're just talking about the Sun. So this Grand Cross energy is part of it is actually two of the players there have been what's behind all the change flying around in our world, destabilizing established systems and setting up a sort of statement of intent coming from the heavens, which is loosening up corroded, outmoded structures in our societies, and also the programs we're running in our personal lives. In this configuration we do have Mars going in retrograde over April, and that puts a slightly different complexion on things. What I would say about the Mars retrograde is that if you have to confront anybody or initiate some kind of action or proceeding, which is like a major thing, or it can be a project or an enterprise, or indeed launch into a negotiation of some kind, and you are the one that does initiate or wants to initiate, then if at all possible, try to hold off until Mars goes direct again, which is going to be May the 20th onwards. If you do that, then it's less likely that things will be snarled up with delays and just kind of pan out maybe not in the way you wanted. However, if somebody else has initiated something during that time, then that might be their problem and not yours. Or if you've already initiated proceedings or taking action on something or launching into some kind of new idea or enterprise or project, or there's something ongoing anyway, then you wouldn't be taking the first step, you know, it would just be a part of the procedure, and then that wouldn't be so relevant, although Mars going retrograde doesn't particularly point to any activities have to be sort of maybe tiptoed around, you know, can't use Mars's favorite dynamic, which is to sort of go at it all, full on. And so anyway, that's just a hint about the Mars retrograde. And you do actually at the moment have Mars in your communications sector. If you have Leo rising and it is early Leo rising, then Mars might have gone into your domestic sector at the base of your chart to do with family and places on the map, domestic routines and property. But just on the Sun sign, it will be in your communications area, and you can be very forthright with what you've got to say. But over April, you might have to just be a little bit more sensitive, a little bit not secretive or withholding, but just being more careful there. Now, this setup, this pattern in the skies is probably going to really throw the gauntlet down to some people, especially who've got suns in cardinal signs or lots of cardinal energy streams in their charts. And so if you're moving amongst these people, maybe that's why you've got to be that little bit more sensitive. But I want to say something about this pattern, which I think is quite significant. It is the aspect coming in from Venus. Now, Venus is actually going to be making a very positive aspect with 3 of the players on the points of the 4 points of this Grand Cross, and so therefore she does have a kind of majority say there. And as ever in astrology, it's up to us to choose to go the way of Venus, and I'll try and explain to you in a moment or two which part of your chart Venus is going to be in April. But this aspect coming from Venus is, to my mind, a sort of safety valve on the pressure cooker of this cardinal Grand Cross, because Venus does move into altruistic Pisces from the 6th. And here she finds her most empathic, sensitive, compassionate, and imaginative side. And, you know, those of us who are ready to grasp that ultimately, when you boil it right down, it isn't about right or wrong or shoulds or shouldn'ts or haves or have-nots. It is more about what we all share, not our differences, but our commonalities. And Venus in Pisces is very much about that, when she's playing at the top of her game, of course. She can also, in Pisces, mean that you are really putting yourself out for somebody in a way which is getting you twisted all out of shape, which isn't really how Venus wants to deliver through Pisces. Always, you know, take time out for some recharging and regenerating. But if you do find yourself in situations which are pressured or very intense or emotionally involved, which is possible for you from the 6th onwards with the position of Venus, then step into that compassion, that kindness, that gentleness. And, you know, I would call that kind of a higher awareness, really, and a unity consciousness. Pisces, again, when she's playing at the top of her game, or it's playing at the top of its game, ruled by Neptune, is about not differences, but unity. And this is a unity consciousness. I've made a separate video about the Cardinal Grand Cross if you're interested. Now, on March the 30th, there was a lunar eclipse in Aries, but that will be unfolding over April, and that means that you might be breaking out of something that's been holding you back. It's a great time for you to be expanding into new areas, taking a trip maybe, exploring, adventuring, and maybe just getting thrown into a situation which is teaching you new things. Also, this is a good time to source information, to consult with the right sort of people who have the knowledge that you need to join up the dots. And it is a good time also to be launching into a project. Some of you might be looking at the legal side of things as well. And then the solar eclipse on the 29th is going to be most significant for you earlier Leos, but it will cover the whole sign. And this is going to be unfolding over the next 6 months. So if you were to do one thing in the 24-hour period of that eclipse on the 29th, in the direction of taking your responsibilities more seriously, stepping up to the plate, making yourself visible, maybe taking a firm authoritative hand in that gentle way, of course. If you were to take a step in that direction, maybe consulting with an authority figure or connecting with parental type figures as well, and being more parental and protective perhaps yourself, then if you were to do that on that day, that sets up that statement of intent for the next 6 months. Now, until the 20th, the Sun is in a very outgoing, expansive area, and it tends to raise the spirits. It's quite an upbeat area, and it's time for you to get out of the routine box, definitely. So either by design or accident, you will probably be doing that. Travel is favored, also educational pursuits, and definitely keeping your eye on the distant horizon and getting more information, which gives you the overview. As the month begins, Mercury is in an area which is quite strategic, involved, mulling things over. It's a bit confidential, keeping your cards close to your chest on something. There might be more discussions in that confidential kind of way. Maybe thinking or correspondence related to contract, an agreement, a moral obligation. And you just generally be more introspective there, than a little bit more sensitively emotional, but very intuitive with Mercury there. However, try not to let the emotions bend your good sense out of shape. And then from the 8th, your mind is very much looking outwards again, not introspective anymore, focused on the same area as the Sun, actually. Travel, unfamiliar environments, learning new things, refreshing your mental palette, getting out of the daily grind, getting out of that mental box that you're in and learning stuff. Being the informer, helping others out with your knowledge and know-how as well, and also being the informed, being the guide, being the guided. From the 20th, the Sun moves then, and you'll probably be taking your targets and overall direction more seriously. You have an awareness of that. You have an awareness more of authority figures and parental figures there too. And red tape, bureaucracy, that kind of thing, more likely. This is more grown up and serious, this area here. And you've got to be consistent and responsible as you move forwards. Just another mention of Mercury from the 8th. Around mid-month, there could be an event which is inspiring, you know, and it could catapult you into a new level of understanding, and it could be quite liberating there. Then Mercury moves into the same area as the Sun on the 23rd, and that means discussions and ideas and your thinking revolve around that area there, that area to do with responsibility, maybe bureaucracy, authority figures, parenthood or parents, and you've got to do as best you can to communicate in a way which you know, gets the meaning across in the way that you meant, and in order to get the result that you desire. Also travel, vehicles, transport, that could all be on your mind there. Until the 6th, Venus is very strong in her favorite place. Affairs of the heart are favored, boosting all kinds of close relationships. There could be this feeling of closer rapprochement there, and things, you know, in personal, professional life, one-to-one should flow more easily. Working one-to-one or in a sort of dynamic duo could bring useful resources, financial or benefits or other goodies in your direction. And then from the 6th, Venus does move into Pisces, which is in this pivotal position for taking the pressure off this this sharp edge off this cardinal grand cross. And this is a place of emotional depth. It's the deepest area, really, of the whole wheel, apart from the 12th and the 4th houses. And this is where something could touch you quite deeply, and that is from the 6th onwards. And Venus here can help you touch others' feelings, help you sway others, and you know, really communicate more in a heartfelt kind of a way. So you could be feeling a lot like a relationship is becoming more intimate. It's not casual, you know, it's intimate, it's involved. So whether it's a romantic relationship or whether it's some other kind of relationship. That would be the general vibe there. And also Venus here could manifest as a relationship helping you out materially or supporting you emotionally. And turn that around, you could be seen as helping somebody out materially and supporting them emotionally too. Also, you could be in negotiations related to a joint interest, or finances, property, wanting to create what you want there, but having to refer to or work jointly with or defer to another all the time because you don't have a free hand here, and that could revolve around something shared, a shared space, property, possessions, money. But Venus has a tendency to iron things out. Venus has a tendency to balance wherever she goes, so you can work that to your mutual advantage, hopefully. And as I say, this is the direction to be kind of this is the direction to be sort of keeping your eye in that direction, not only because of that position of Venus in Pisces, but Jupiter is also in that sort of place in your chart, as well as Saturn, although they're two different places, because Saturn is in a long cycle of challenging you to clear up things from the past, dust swept under the rug from the past, taking your responsibilities to family, maybe more seriously having more on your shoulders because of family, certain family members maybe, and they're having more on their shoulders as well for some reason. But therapeutic work can trigger inner change in a more body-centered approach through healthy practices, should help you build better emotional, physical foundations for yourself, and therefore when you're dealing with that more external stuff with, close relationships, nuclear sort of family or extended family, you will be able to deal with that and take that on better. A lot of you children of the golden winged lion have been having difficulties with health for a while, or with the work setup or methods or whatever, and that would be because of the long transit of Pluto through that sector there. And if you want to know more about that, have a look at my website, because that will be written up there. So Saturn, says to you, you really got to square up to this old stuff now. And it can be to do with skeletons in the closet, from the past, or it's something ongoing right now. And anything you've been tolerating which has chronically been wearing you out, like maybe your place on the map, your domestic setup, you feel there's a lack, there's a scarcity, it's not quite right. It might be something to do with a family member who has that problem. Then this is, the time, this is the area where you've got to work the hardest, and you're generally tying up these loose ends. And I'm saying that because of the position of Jupiter, which is in Cancer, the sign before yours, and really this position of Jupiter means letting go and forgiving, but of course sorting it out first and then letting it go, but forgiving as well, and forgiving yourself. Is going to help you to grow. And as all things are connected, as I have said before, then your battle, if it is a battle, because it can be quite emotional there, will add to the pool of goodwill for us all, no matter how small or how hidden that is, some old bad habit coming back to bite you. You thought you'd kind of managed to stamp out, and there it is again, or hooking up again with that old friend who always took you down the merry road to hell. It was fun, wasn't it? But anyway, it wasn't good. This is the time to really make sure that is, just handed back to the universe. And if you do what you can with Jupiter going through this area here until July, then it'll help everybody, everywhere, everything, everywhere. It'll just give that little bit more light to all of ourselves. That would be my opinion anyway. And you can be your own worst enemy because you shot yourself in the foot because you just can't lay to rest a bad old habit or deal with. It's a great time to do some self-improvement. It's a great time to do some therapy actually, and go in for meditation, go in for things like yoga as well. And you will then get the opportunity to heal old wounds and touch base with yourself, your spirituality, but also work imaginatively with things. This is a great place for the artists among you as well. Wonderful flights of fantasy and also dreams. Dreams could be very significant. And then in conclusion, Mars is in your solar communication sector, and I've already touched briefly upon him there. It just tends to accelerate mental processes. It means that there's more demand to gather information, source information wisely, but also to deliver information, to be in a dialogue, a kind of an ongoing thing there with somebody else, and exchanging views, bouncing ideas. But there can be tensions from time to time, as always with Mars. You can feel a bit overloaded by somebody else coming at you too much, or indeed just overloaded in general because you've got so much on your mind. So once again, I would say, you know, take the time to do that meditation, to do that sort of just breathe, really, you know. And it's better to be to pace yourself and be measured and decisive in what you say, and try to keep lines of communication open, even if somebody is coming at you really very aggressively, which can happen with Mars here, because they see you as being aggressive towards them, which you might not have realized. On the other hand, you might have done. And in general, you should just try and keep those lines of communication open and not worry about somebody's deeper motives, and then you can be more successful. You can be very successful actually through expressing yourself with Mars here over this exceptionally long transit, and you can be proactive with anything to do with, you know, the internet, education, media, promotions, negotiations, just speaking up for yourself, really. And that's it for April. If you know your rising sign and your moon sign, listen to the forecast for those and sort of piece it all together in your inimitable, creative kind of a way, Leo, and just chuck out the bits that you don't, just cut those bits out that you don't really apply. And also, if you want to know more about transits, which dates of birth in your sign they may be affecting, that's written up. The written version of this is on my website, DianaGarland.com. And I'll see you the next time.